What's up, everybody? It's Parallax Abstraction, and this is Retro Flashforward, showcasing gaming's roots in the current generation. Yes, indeed, it took me a lot longer to put this video out after the last one than I planned on, but here we are, and we're here to take a look at something pretty neat. So in my last video, I talked about Bruce Lee, which was a really cool sort of action platformer game for a variety of different systems, but I remember it most fondly on the Commodore 64. And indeed, we're here to take a look at its sequel. This is Bruce Lee 2, but whoa, what the hell? What is that at the bottom? Yeah, 2013, indeed. So this is actually an unofficial sequel that was designed by, well, you can see right there, Bruno R. Marcos, a guy who took it upon himself to come up with his own spiritual sequel to this game, and did an incredible job with it, frankly. Did an amazing job in maintaining the spirit of Bruce Lee, and I wanted to show it off to you guys. It's actually free to download, and it's actually donationware, so if you like it, you can kick him a couple bucks, which I'm definitely going to do. So yeah, the basics here are pretty simple. It starts off, the neat thing is he did this. He did two different layouts. He did a Commodore 64 layout and an Amstrad CPC layout. The Amstrad was another system that that Bruce Lee came out on. And yeah, you can toggle infinite lives on and off. You can redefine keys. You can set up a gamepad. I had trouble getting this to work with a 360 controller, so I'm just going to play with the keyboard. But here we go. So yeah, the evil Tao Bao has kidnapped Bruce Lee's sister and taken her into the deep of his palace. There, a group of recruited fighters awaits the arrival of the dragon to destroy him. Indeed. So yeah, this is, well, it's Bruce Lee, and you may notice a couple of little differences over the original. Well, I mean, some of the animations are different, though the art is bang friggin' on. He did a great job with that, but yeah, 60 frames a second. The original Bruce Lee ran at, I don't know if it was actually 30, but it was something like that. This actually has smoother animations as it actually runs at a proper 60. And as you see there's a different kind of enemy. I've actually not finished this, but yeah, there's different adversaries and different types of platforming in this, and it's got a similar idea. You see you're going after the lanterns like you saw in the beginning there, and you're going to be traversing a number of different platforms and things like that with enemies that will respawn at certain points, but not in all points. So this is not a two-player game. The sort of weird pseudo-adversarial, pseudo-co-op mode from the original Bruce Lee is not in this. This is one player only, so there's that little change. And also, oh yeah, check this out. What? Yeah, swimming Bruce Lee. And it's kind of funny here. He can actually hit the water, and then this happens. Oh god! Yeah, he can actually drown, and it's rather funny how he does it. He just turns purple, which I always find amusing. So yeah, it really, at the core of it, this guy made a proper sequel to Bruce Lee. He did a couple of little modern additions, but it's the same idea. It's platforming and action and, you know, so traversal-based challenges. Some of them, I will say, are pretty gnarly compared to the original Bruce Lee. Like this right here, for example, requires some rather precise jumping. There are actually several precise jumps required in this. And it's definitely a little harsher than the original, shall we say. I feel it was designed in the idea of, well, you've played Bruce Lee, you get the idea behind it. Now we're going to amp up the challenge a little bit for veteran players, which, hey, as a veteran Bruce Lee player and fan, I'm all for that. So you see here we're doing another jumping thing, and you've got to avoid, I assume those are piranhas, but I'm not sure. But it requires some rather specific timing. You got to move very quick. Doesn't give you a lot of room for error here. And yeah, I mean, you're getting the core of it here. Like I said, I've not finished this, though I intend to, so I don't know how long it is. I'm going to assume it's a similar length to the original, since it was clear the author was trying to do real true homage to the original, which I really like. I love anything like this. Projects where someone just had something from their childhood that they loved so much that they just wanted to do their own version, you know, their own thing to it, and just say, hey, I want to make something that's just like that, except it's brand new, and it's kind of what I would have wanted if this game got a sequel. I have mega props and respect for anyone who's willing to do that, because I have neither the talent nor the patience to do anything like that, I would say. And yeah, it's probably fair to say that in this day and age, Making stuff like this is certainly nothing like it was back in the 80s. I mean, pixel art like this, simple animation, lack of music, things like that. This is this in the scope of game design and development, I'm sure is quite trivial versus what it was like back when Datasoft made the original. But nonetheless, it still requires, even the simplest video game requires a fair amount of effort and talent if you want to make it and make it fun, right? Whoa. And this guy did it. He really did. I really think this is very cool. And what's amazing about this is some crazy people actually took it even further than that. I guess that's not a piranha because it's actually flying through the air. But what are you going to do? Some people actually took this even further. That's the thing you can pick up there, by the way. There we go. Made ourselves a ladder. There is actually, and I'll link to this in the description box below the video. Somebody, oops. By the way, I'm playing with infinite lives because, yeah, I'm cheating. Screw you. So, yeah, somebody actually took this game and re-engineered it and made it so that it actually runs on a frickin' Commodore 64. I'm not even kidding. Somebody actually took this. It's a freely downloadable disk image. There's a disk image, a tape image, and a cartridge image. I think he did a version of each that you can run either in an emulator or that you can actually put on a disc and put into a real Commodore 64, and it will totally friggin' work. And I've actually screwed around with that in C64 Forever, and it bloody works. And not only that, he did a better soft than Datasoft did back. Did you say he did a better soft? Oh boy. Yeah, he actually did a better job than Datasoft did back in the day, because the version of this that runs on the actual Commodore 64 runs at 60 frames a second. It's crazy. It actually looks and runs better than the original did, and that's just, there we go. This took me a long time to figure out that this tree is actually something you can jump onto and that you have to jump onto. Yeah, it's a little weird. But that just blew my mind. So not only did someone take the time and effort to make this to begin with, but someone took it a step further and figured out how to reverse engineer a game that was built on Windows and decided to make it run within the much, much more severe limitations of the Commodore 64 platform and actually made it run really well. Like, what the hell? People in this scene are friggin' nuts, and I love it. It's so good. It's so cool. So yeah, that stuff is freely available, as is this game. So I will link to both so that you can check them out if you want. So the only notable omissions from this, there are two, and one I think, God, I cannot make this jump. There are two notable omissions, and one is, in my opinion, probably a little more important to some people than others. So the more important one, I think, is the lack of two-player. Is it the end of the world? No. Did a lot of people back in the day play Bruce Lee strictly single player? Yes. Me included. But having the ability to have a second player, especially since you could actually play the game either competitively or in like a co-op kind of way. Oh, that's neat. Speaking of other fancy things that were not in the original, it didn't have Dark Souls-like elevators in that thing. Yeah, being able to play it in those different ways where the game actually gave you the means to play it in an almost competitive, either competitive or a pseudo co-op way, that was one of the really little endearing qualities about the original Bruce Lee, because it allowed you to play it kind of in different ways than the authors intended, but that were still cool. Would have been nice to have that in here, but I know that was probably a lot more work. I missed a thing up there, didn't I? Crud. And that would have been nice to have seen in here. You know, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. The fact that this thing exists at all is amazing, but just saying, that's one thing that would have been nice. And also, as you can probably see up top, there is no scoring system in this game. Now, I don't know if anybody really gave a crap about the fact that Bruce Lee kept score. I actually liked it because you could actually continue to loop the game over and over again if you were really good at it and build up some, frankly, pretty impressive scores. And I actually did keep sort of a running high score thing with a couple of buddies of mine when I was a kid. And being able to continue to do that would have been cool. But scoring systems they're not really necessarily that hard to make or design, but nonetheless, it's a lot more work, and it was to figure all that stuff out. And I mean, to be fair, the Bruce Lee scoring system was cool, but it wasn't exactly the world's best designed scoring system either. It was a little goofy the way it worked. So I could see that this guy probably just didn't want to bother with it. And when you're making a modern score attack game, you kind of want to be able to have stuff like online leaderboards and other things like that in order to sort of add the modern competitive element to it. Just have, you know, going through the effort of creating a scoring system just to have it save locally, maybe not necessarily worth it. And this game being what it is, it's just a standalone download you get from his website. It's not like on Steam or anything like that. It can't be, obviously. So there's no real way or easy method for him to put an online leaderboard system or anything like that in it. So understandable, but it would have been cool. But other than that, I think this is an absolutely killer. Aha, there we go. I think this is an absolutely killer unofficial sequel to Bruce Lee. He absolutely nailed the aesthetic of it. The art style is bang on. The little additions he's made to it, like stuff like this lift animation and... Hey, first time, look at that. And things like the ability to swim and upping the animations to 60 frames a second, things like that. That's all friggin' kick-ass, and it was done exquisitely. He did an absolutely incredible job, and I am really impressed. And I don't know how I missed this back in the day. My channel was just starting out back when this game was released, and somehow it never came across my radar, which is really weird because I usually pay attention for stuff like this. But I'm glad I finally had a chance to check it out. And if you are at all a fan of the original Bruce Lee, I highly recommend you do it. I mean, for Pete's sake, it's free, so you got no real reason to not at least give it a shot. And honestly, kick this guy some money if you like it, because donation-based stuff like this routinely goes sort of unappreciated. People who make this kind of thing often rarely ever get anything for it. And I think this guy deserves a little incentive for a job well done. You know what I mean? So I would definitely go check that out. And yeah, I'm really impressed with this. And Bruce Lee fans should definitely check it out. This guy... If this game came out on the Commodore 64 and didn't have the date 2013 on it, I would have thought it was maybe some unreleased Datasoft game. That's how close it is. So just before we start here, before we finish here, I'm going to show you guys the CPC mode. Personally, I think the Commodore 64 version of this was much better. The CPC, in my opinion, doesn't have as good a music chip, and the graphics definitely aren't as good as you're going to see here. So you see it has sort of brighter, more popping colors, but far fewer of them. As you can see, the sound effects are pretty awful in comparison. There's no enemy pop sound. The running noise is that weird sort of clicking. I don't know, that kind of makes my ears feel weird. I don't know about you. Funny enough, the swimming sound is exactly the same. But other than this, it controls the same, it plays the same, it's running at 60 frames a second. So if you were someone, again, this is another nice little touch that the guy did that I think is very, very cool. He put in this secondary graphics mode that if you played this game originally back on the Amstrad, which if you lived in the UK, you may have. The Commodore 64 was big in Europe, but the Amstrad was a big deal in the UK. So while I grew up with this game on the C64, it's quite possible that people played it on the Amstrad as well. If you played it there, you can get that more, sort of faithful reproduction, right? And it just gives you... Because this is a game all about appealing to nostalgia for this old thing, and being able to play it on... play sort of the version that you like just gives you that little extra twinge, right? Just that little bit of extra gratification where you're like, yeah, this is a game that just reminds me of what I loved as a kid, and that's... Wow, the death noise sounds really harsh. And it just gives you that little extra twinge of nostalgia, which is exactly what this is going for. So it's really cool, and I will give mega props to that. But, yeah, there's not much more to say about this game, honestly. It is a fantastic I'm not even going to say modern take. It is a modern take because it was made in the modern day, but at the same time, it's not modernized. It's done in the original style. But this is a fantastic pseudo-sequel to Bruce Lee that checks all the boxes of what made Bruce Lee great, with the exception of the multiplayer, which is not that big a deal. And it was done by one guy, and it was clearly done with oodles and oodles of love for a game that, well, a lot of us loved, myself included. And I will give mega respect to anyone who is willing to go through this effort just to pay tribute to something that we all enjoyed as kids, and who's willing to do it for free. So wicked props to him. So yeah, I will put a link to download this game yourself in the description box below the video, as well as a link to get the crazy reverse-engineered Commodore 64 native versions. Either way, it's a good time. And you can definitely do that. If you guys want to see a video of the native Commodore 64 version, let me know and I can do a supplemental episode. But it's the same game. It's just running on that hardware. So it's not that fundamentally different. So, but yeah, that is Bruce Lee 2, developed by Bruno R. Marcos in 2013. This is the Windows version. I think it's out for Linux as well, though. Don't quote me on that. But as you can see right there, www.bruneris.com. You can get it from his website there for free. Kick him some money if you like it, because awesome fan projects like this need to be supported, if you ask me. And I think this is really cool, and he did a bang-up job, so congratulations to you, sir. I tip my hat to you. My name's Parallax Abstraction. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. It does help me out a great deal. And we'll be doing more of these pretty soon. Count on that. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Take it easy.